Thank you guys for coming, and thank you, my brother Bat. My name is Innocent, and I'm from Uganda. Uganda is in East Africa. Just a few things about my country is we have 42 million currently of people, and we have a president who have been leading us for 32 years. And another funny thing is that in Africa, HIV/AIDS was first diagnosed in my country, Uganda. I also know that there are a billion people today who are going hungry in the whole world. And also know that 120 million slaves are in existence. I have met and lived with sex slaves, and I have lived with them. I have lived, met orphans, and I know that also today, this year alone, over 1 million people will commit suicide because they have not been able to get hope and love. For me, my story, I was born when the circle was surrounding me. The day that I was born, I have never had an opportunity for my mother to hold me. And that's why you see that I'm called Innocent. Because my mom died immediately after giving birth to me. When I see some of you, the parents who have children, and I see how you love your children, and how children love their parents, and I ask myself, what did I do to God to deserve sometimes, to deserve not to have an opportunity to see my mother? And at age 7 months, I died and I resurrected. The only difference that I have is the other son, the widow's son who died in the Bible. He's not here to talk about it. But me, I'm here, I can talk about it. I was born by a father who was a drunkard man, who was an abusive father, who had many wives. I do believe that you have heard about Africa, where men, they don't care about their families. Men mind about producing. That was the kind of life that I grew up experiencing. The woman I thought that was my mother, she was my stepmom. And at the age of 3, I started experiencing abuse from the woman I thought that was my mother, because she's the one who raised me when after my mom died. And I didn't know that she was not my mother. But I used to ask myself why she was treating me differently than other children, until I was able to know that she was not my real mother. But what made it worse was that it was also my father. The man that was supposed to be protecting me, loving me, caring about me, was also another abusive father. That the moment I could try to explain what was taking place in my life, my father was not willing to listen, but he was only interested in beating me and abusing me than even my stepmom. So life continued until I was 5 years. And a certain young man who was, I think by that time, 18 years, who was a neighbor, seeing what was taking place in my life and how I was being abused, how I was being tortured by people who were supposed to protect me. He came and told me that, come with me, I take you somewhere where they'll be able to accept you and take good care of you. And I had no option but also to run, because I was tired of living with people who never loved me. I was tired of living with people who were abusing me, who didn't care about me. But guess what? When we entered the city, the friend of mine who had promised me to take me somewhere where they would love me, he also abandoned me there. And that was the day that the world became so small for me. The world changed, and I became a homeless child. In America, I am glad that you don't have homeless children on the streets. But for me, and many children in Africa, and maybe some in Asia, maybe also in South America, in Brazil, There are many children who are homeless. What did they do? They did do nothing. Nothing they did. But they found themselves on the streets. On the streets where you live, and no one cares. No one wants to see you. No one wants to know what's taking place in your life. Everyone looks at you as a vagabond. You are filled with a hopeless life. So that life that I was filled with, that I was used to live in, I ended up using drugs at a young age. There's no drug that you can talk about that I have never experienced. But I was looking for hope. I thought that maybe the hope I didn't get from my father, the hope I didn't get an opportunity to see my mother, that maybe I will get hope from the drugs that I was taking. But I didn't get hope. I continued living a hopeless life. Some of my friends, they were shot, killed when I was sick in my presence. At one time, I remember very well, my friend was shot, and I asked God at the age of 12 why he has not killed me than killing my friend. At the age of 12, I committed suicide because I wanted to die. There was no reason for me to live. I had no future. There was no purpose. I had failed to get hope that I wanted. But when I committed suicide, I failed to die. I didn't know that maybe God had other plans. I experienced torture, rejection from when I was born until 1999, when I met a missionary on the streets of Kampala, Uganda. This lady, she came and she started sharing the gospel of Jesus with us. To be honest with you, young people by that time like me, who were not looking at Jesus, who were looking at having sex with her, who were looking at having food that she could bring to us. But one day, she came and she shared the love of Jesus. She shared the gospel of Jesus. And she told us that, I remember very well, she was talking like she was speaking to me, that there is a person who loves you, and his name is Jesus. And I remember she said that Jesus is the only person who will love you no matter what. And when she was telling me, I looked at myself. I looked at the rejection that I've been living in, and I looked at the things I've been going through. And I could not expect that there would be somebody to love me. But guess what? One time we were taken to a church, and we found a preacher preaching. And after the preacher, he invited people who were willing to meet Jesus. And a group of people went. And also, together with me and my colleagues, we went to meet Jesus. After the preacher prayed for us, and he said that you go back. And I remember I looked in the preacher's eyes and I said, where is Jesus? Because they told us that we are meeting Jesus. Because I thought that Jesus was a human being, a person like you. And the preacher looked at me and said that, Jesus, you have him with you. And from today and onwards, he will always be with you. That was the day that my life started changing. I was taken into an orphanage, but being that I was used in taking drugs, I had to go to hospital. I spent 4 months in the hospital because it was not easy for me to survive without drugs. But God had plans. In 2005, I started the ministry of Save Street Children in Uganda with 9 children in my small room that had no ventilator, had no window. We had no mattress, and our mattresses were empty boxes. It was on 25th December 2005, when I had just taken 2 crates of soda and chapatis to have a Christmas party with some kids on the street. But I ended up picking more with me. That night, I remember I took 9 of them with me. But I don't want to talk much about my story, but I want you to know that whether rich or poor, whether orphan or not orphan, we have one thing in common. We are all looking for hope and love. Others, they try to think that they can get hope and love from the money they have, But that is not hope. I thought that I would get hope from my father, but I didn't get it from him. I didn't get hope from anybody. I only got hope from Jesus. If I give you $1 million, right, $1 million right now, will you be happy? Maybe yes. If you give me $1 million or $1 billion, will I be happy? Yes, I will be happy. Maybe I will think that I'm going to build schools for orphanages. But if they tell me that my wife has died, will I still be happy? I will not be happy. So sometimes the thing that we think that have hope for us, that they have hope, they don't have hope. They may give us just a small pleasure, but there is no hope in them. Hope can only be got from one person, and that person is Jesus, who changed my life. Today, I'm a primary dropout because I didn't go to school. What I know, ask me about being a street child. But look at me. Lived on the street for 9 years, never got an opportunity to breastfeed from my own mother, rejected and abused by my own father. Nobody of my relatives has ever looked for me. But today, God is using someone to change lives. When I tell you that I have seen young girls who have been prostitutes at the age of 10, I have lived with them and I've seen God changing their lives. That is hope. They could not get hope in everything they were trying out. When I see among the children that God has changed, when I see a young girl, Carol, who became a prostitute at the age of 10, not because she wanted, and I see today the life she's living, that's the hope that we need. When I see a young girl, Nakato, who was sexually raped by the biological father, infected by HIV, impregnated by the biological father, and decided to run away from home, tried to commit suicide. But today, the hope that she could not get from the father or from the mother, she got it from Jesus. And she's living a good life. We all need hope and we all need love. Parents who are here, sometimes you think that maybe by providing children everything that they need, you think that that's enough. That's not enough. Your children, they need you to hug them. They need you to show them that they are loved. They need hope. And the only way you can give them hope is showing them that Jesus loves them. Today, when I look at Emilio is a young boy, right now he's 23, who was abandoned by the mom and rejected by the father and became a street boy. Today, Emilio is one of the young guys that are changing lives in my country, Uganda, who is now in charge of the music department of our church. When I see at a young girl, Maria, she's just an 18-year girl who was abandoned by her parents. The father and the mom divorced, and then nobody was willing to take care of her. Today, she's in charge of our worship team in our church. That is hope that we are talking about. Whether you are poor, whether you're educated, there's one thing that we need. And the reason why everybody is struggling, we are struggling because we are looking for hope and we are looking for love. Today, I don't want to talk about myself. Pastor, I want to talk about the daily lives that we experience. Look at that young baby, young girl, who is living a hopeless life. I also know today that 367 children in my country have died today because of malnutrition. Do we deserve to lose our children? No. I know that my country, many young children are being born because of HIV. They didn't do anything to deserve that. I also know that over 100 people today have died in my country because of hunger. But we all struggle for one thing. We need hope. Whether you are white or black, we all have one thing in common. That is hope. The world didn't look anything in me. Everybody looked at me as nothing. Nobody loved me. Nobody cared about me. But today when I see what God is doing, the life that is changing, it gives me hope to continue pressing on. It gives me hope to trust in Him so much. Sometimes when things are difficult with the orphanage, I think that sometimes I think to give up. But when I always look at the life that God has changed, I get fired up. So ladies and gentlemen, you may be here, but we have something that we all need. We need hope. Whether you are an African, whether you are an American, we all need hope and love. But there's nothing that can give us that hope and love except from God, from Jesus. I told my brother that I'm not about speaking more about me, because I know that there are young people here in America who always close their doors and they put on their doors, "Don't disturb," because their fathers and mothers cannot give them time. The only thing they can talk with their parents is, "How are you? How is school?" And they think that that is enough. And they close themselves in their rooms and they say, "Don't disturb," because they are afraid to get hope from their parents. They are afraid to get love from their parents. I also know rich people who have committed suicide when they have money. If money was to give hope, why did they die? In Africa, we talk about Steve Jobs. I don't know how big he was, but I think he was very rich. But the wealth he had could not give him hope. So ladies and gentlemen, in everything you struggle with, in everything you are going through, it may be rejection like me, it may be pain, because we are born without hope, but we are born in pain. And we have to believe in faith that there is hope. And we have to continue looking for that hope. And that hope can only be got not from anyone else, but from Jesus. Today, many thousands, hundreds of children have been able to get hope. Not because we are able to provide them with food or clothing or education, but because they are able to know the love of Jesus. Today, you may be able to give me everything that we need for the orphanage, but if we don't transform these children for Jesus, there's nothing that we shall have done, except if we can disciple these children to become good fathers, good mothers to their children, to become good husbands and good wives, their partners. And we can do that together. Someone may say, because money is what they want. Let me tell you by that. When I became a sweet child, it is not that my father was completely poor. My father was on average standard of the Ugandan person. But his wealth could not save me from being a sweet child. I also know that some of you may have grown a similar life like mine. We may have some things in common. But the one thing that I want to concentrate on, that we need hope together. And that hope can only be got together from Jesus, who has transformed lives. Today we have an orphanage We have a school for orphans. And we have a church that is transforming lives in our communities. But look at me. I'm not educated. Even the English I'm speaking, I don't know where it is coming from. I don't even have a high school. I even don't have any qualification to stand before you and speak to you. I'm just a former sinner that was welcomed the house of the Lord, that was welcomed the family of God. And by the grace, that's why I'm standing here. And that is what we all need. I want to thank you for coming. And I believe that my story somewhere, somehow maybe, it has encouraged you. It has changed the way you have been looking at yourself. You don't need to hate yourself. You don't need to look at people, because people are people. A person will always be a person. But when you put your hope and trust in the Lord, everything will change. And today, I live a changed life completely. I'm no longer rejected. My people rejected me. My family rejected me. But God had a purpose. And that purpose is being fulfilled. Thank you so much. God bless you.